Hi everyone, this is a new series we are going to start where we will talk with industrial experts in their fields. Today we have our first guest, Michael, and he is working together with us for more than 5 years now. And he is a leading industry expert in terms of automation. And today we would like to have a brief conversation about his view, perspective, and where the industry goes right now, today's trends. Hi, Mihail. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How did you start working in this field and how you end up with building automations and IT systems, also the product automator itself?
Okay, so everything started, I think, very early in my age, but constantly when I started to be starting a professional job, I always loved to automate things, to help myself, to maybe invest some time to make something easier. In my profession, as Microsoft introduced Powershell, this was something I was never a real dev, but at least scripting is something I achieved. And PowerShell is a real good choice to automate all those Microsoft stuff. I'm working constantly. So, and that was the reason how it evolved. And I think now 10 years ago, that was the reason we founded Automated, a product to help customers with those automation and also to provide them product to help. And it's always also in my private life a very popular topic to automate stuff. For example, doing home automation to help and make life easier. Sometimes.
Sometimes it's not making life easier because you have to spend 10 hours to automate a thing that takes 1 hour.
Sometimes, yes. And of course, at home it's more complex because my girlfriend is then judging. And if something is not working from the first phase, she doesn't like it very well. But yeah,
That's what we do. Mostly try to automate things, but not everyone is so successful at it because it's either taking too much time, require expertise. We don't know how to automate a thing. We don't understand the procedure. So how it is going in your life when you see a problem? How do you take it and how do you try to solve it? Like day-to-day life, not even in IT.
Yeah, I think what helps on both sides in my life, or maybe also in IT, is first to understand the process. And it sounds a little bit maybe wrong word, but it's just think about how you would solve it manually. In what steps is from one to the next, what do you need? Before you have written down that, or maybe imagine in your head what manual steps you have to do. If that process, that steps are fine and making sense, then you should start with automation, not before. So before, everything else needs to be right and make sense, and then do the automation.
It feels like what you said has layers underneath.
Yeah.
An experience, of course.
Yeah.
So what was the driving motivation for you?
Do you mean the driving motivation, maybe the use cases where we stuck with automation, where we failed with automation, what we learned? Yeah. So I have maybe two examples, one from the private life and one from the professional life. I think typical automation in my area is doing user automation, so user on offboardings. If you're not really deep in that topic, you think the automation just takes maybe a day or something. And we did our first customer and we promised them, we did them a quote. We do the automation in 1 or 2 days. It ended up to take us 10 days. Because it's just, you have so much things you might not think about what is all used when a new employee is coming to a company, that it sounds easy, but it is not that easy. And that is something we learned in that field. And one private stuff, my girlfriend likes to, also in wintertime, and in Austria we have very cold winters, to open all the windows to have fresh air in the house. But that means it's getting cold. Then we need a lot of energy to heat the house again and everything, and that makes no sense. Try to tell her, maybe close the windows, and if it's -degrees out there, just quickly open and close it, but she constantly keep them open. So in our house, it gets very cold. And so I did an automation to just close the shields and the roof windows automatically on a specific degrees Celsius. But I haven't thought about one day, I shutted all the windows upstairs, so my kids and my girlfriend wasn't able to look out, but it was a very nice snowy day. And the kids wanted to see the snow, but the home automation shuttered all the windows and they wasn't able to look out. You can imagine the phone call, and I should stop it. And that was also the reason you should think about maybe there's someone else who is affected by this automation, and you should take care. And and there will also always be maybe something you haven't thought about, so everything can happen.
In the example you gave, you were talking about your girlfriend, and actually she's a decision maker and she's a shareholder.
Yes.
So the automation was working just fine as the first steps you prepared, but it wasn't making her happy.
Yeah.
So it ended up with friction between the product itself and the decision makers.
Yeah.
So nowadays, many IT people probably having these problems because they need to automate things, but decision makers may not end up with happy results.
Yeah.
So how do you solve that part specifically? And how you solve the situation with your girlfriend in the end?
I stopped the automation immediately. So I was driving in the car, I stopped and disabled the automation. But with customers, it's not just doing the automation. The most part is to listen to them, to understand their needs, their maybe problems, and what can help them. And of course, you need to take their hands and bring them into the project, because it doesn't make sense to sit in the room, do the automation, and then go out and say, here it is, ready for you. It will not be accepted. So you have to bring those people who will be affected by the automation, who will use the automation, who might also improve the next phase because they see, okay, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do this. You need to bring them on board from the very first phase. And with that, you also increase the acceptance, because if you just throw them the automation, so take it and use it, the acceptance will be very low. And if then there is something not going correct or there's something going wrong, just a simple thing, that is a huge thing for them to argument against automation. We don't want that, we don't need it. But if you bring them on board and if you take their hands and go the journey with them, they are also very nice if there are some problems, if there are some issues, and there will be some issues, of course. You learn and you need to evolve and you need to change constantly.
We have to deliver something as a product, but as you said, you have to include the decision makers into process before it's too late.
Yeah.
And that's also, you mentioned making the requirements clear in the first step and not over-promising.
Yeah.
Those are the things we are also experiencing software development in our company. When there's a new hire to Papatya, they always overpromise or underpromise. So it creates an expectation from the decision maker side. It doesn't necessarily client. It can be even a colleague who needs something from their colleagues. So, for example, these guys here overpromise a lot, and sometimes like they're failing to estimate the things.
Yeah.
But we ended up with a really good team culture, as you described.
Yeah.
We have a famous question in our team: what do you need?
Yeah.
If we are going to build a product or a task needs to be done or a feature to be implemented, we ask the first this question: what do you need? What's your expectation from this feature, from this task? What do you want to achieve? When you get things clear, actually, for your automation, for example, you wanted to ventilate the room efficiently. That was the desire. You didn't want to open and close the window at certain hours. It wasn't your goal. Your goal was to ventilate it efficiently.
Yeah.
So there are other approaches may be implemented, but then it comes to the budget problems.
Yeah.
You cannot buy, I guess, a complete HVAC device that ventilates the whole apartment automatically. Automation and workflows are really trend, and they are going to be more popular in the near time soon. So how do you see this is going and where it's going, and what should be actual trend in terms of your expertise instead of the buzzwords?
Yeah, AI is everywhere, so everything is AI. Everyone's supposed to have AI in their product and use AI, but you really should focus on using AI, learning it, and not negotiating it. So it's like, I don't know, 15 years ago or 20, 25 years ago, it was a virtual machines, when we very technically. 10, 15 years ago, it was cloud computing. Everybody then talked about it's not possible. You cannot do more VMs on one physical hardware. Now, virtual machines is everywhere, and AI is the same and much, much more. Don't stop negotiating it. It will come. It's just a decision if you're using it or it might be replacing you. And also for decision makers or maybe company owners, they also have to make sure that they're using AI to be efficient in the future. Because in Europe, we see that there is the name of the generation of baby boomers, and they are all going to stop the work in the next 10 years. So we have less manpower, but the same task to do, that same things to do. Someone else has to do it, and this will be AI, because we have no much manpower. So you have to find a way what you're doing right now might be replaced by AI, or how you can improve your task with AI, because simple things will be replaced by AI. You cannot negotiate it, yeah? And we have maybe one example. When we started with the company, every employee of us received a comic figure of his own. So for this, we hired someone on the internet for, I don't know, 100 euros. It took them 1 week, and then we had this figure. Right now, you push a photo to ChatGPT, to any AI, and you get that photo for zero money in 1 minute. So now it's nothing special. And that things you need to check if that what you do right now can be replaced, and then it will be replaced. Use AI to be better, to be more efficient, whatever, yeah.
Using AI for building efficient workflows,
Yeah.
it's totally true. And how about the automation itself? Like automating things. AI has an impact on building workflows, but is there any place for AI to be in the automation itself, to be maybe a decision maker or analyzing different situations? Have you experienced anything in your career like that?
We are looking for areas where we can really use AI in a useful way. We are not just telling everyone we do automation, then automation is not AI, but AI can be a part of automation. And AI itself is not automation. So my opinion is you should combine both, but the one is not the other, and vice versa. So a lot of companies, when the AI hype started, they just told that their automation is now AI. AI is when there is input, a question, a prompt, and then you get the response from AI and start the next step. Automation is you put in something, you've written some code, you've written some workflows, and then an output is coming. AI is something different than just automation. Yeah? And we are looking always for, of course, using automation, using AI, and also use AI as a step in our automations.
AI itself is a great tool, as you said, to use it in the loop as a part. But there's also possibility to use AI to build automations, as you described. And what are the real examples of using AI for the early in the career IT experts? How they can use it? Because, as you said, if you are going to use AI, you will not be replaced by AI. But if you're not, it's easy to be replaceable. So how they can ensure they're not going to be replaced with AI and stay up to date in the industry?
Good one. In my opinion, as you said, already talked that you have to use AI in your daily business, and for younger people, use AI to learn the topic you want to be good in. As example, for devs, AI, I think, can really help you to learn mechanism, methods, whatever you need to learn. But AI will not help you to replace your knowledge. Of course, you can say to AI, script me that thing, I think, but only easy stuff. You still have to understand everything. Why are you doing it? When customers can explain what they want or what they need, we as a consultant are useless. And it's the same for AI. You need to learn how to talk to AI, how to define your prompt to get the correct response. And then before that, you have to understand the topic. We have customers telling us we don't need your help for consulting, for writing PowerShell scripts. We use ChatGPT. Fine. But they have no clue where to start, and they have no clue, they cannot read the result. They're just copy pasting it and then wondering why it's not working. And they cannot help themselves. So you have to understand what ChatGPT or whatever AI tool is responding to you. So use AI to learn something and to use AI to then improve your work. That is my idea.
If I'm not mistaken, you are the PowerShell guy in the Microsoft community, and actually you received an MVP title for nearly 10 years now.
10 years now, yeah.
How do you see Microsoft tools, for example, Microsoft AI tools that can generate PowerShell scripts? How do you see their performance? Is it useful for a person who starts their career, or let's say they're in their first 5 years? How do you see it?
My experience, and we use, in this example, GitHub Copilot, what is the Microsoft pendant from AI, very heavily. And since I think half a year, it is really producing very good code, useful code. And what we need to adopt is really decreasing against zero. So the code is really good, but still at the beginning, you need to understand what's happening there. So you can't say to AI, write me a code. I will ask you what code, what it is for, what purpose is it. And we also learned how to ask GitHub Copilot to write us the code. So we need to command, go for each loop for every item in this property and do this and that. So you need to can tell AI what you want to do. And this is something you only can learn when you understand the basics of, in our example, PowerShell. So maybe at the beginning, try to not use AI if you learn the basics, maybe just to help or ask them, how can I do this? How can I do this? But not to write your code. Because I think in writing the code, you learn a lot. It's the same like in the school. So if you learn something for school for a test and you try to write a small letter and you try to use that during the test, everything what you have written on that small letter, you learned. So, and also my opinion is the same with code. So when you write the code, just basic stuff, you learn, you understand, and then you can evolve. But you need to understand the basics before you're using or let AI do the work.
Yes, that's so true. And also for us, same for the developers, we are always using AI to generate stuff. You can do the things by your own, and using AI to help, that's super helpful. But I've seen many examples in our team or in the industry where people use vibe coding, and with vibe coding, if you do not review everything, what may end up with not a good result, because people cannot tell what they need exactly. So you have to be specific with AI, and to be specific, you have to know what you are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Use AI as it is your senior developer. So in your work environment, when you're a junior developer, you don't have always access or like ability to ask questions to your seniors, because they have business meetings, they have like important things to do, and lack of their time may end up with not progressing very well. So people need to ask someone. This is a good use for AI. It can answer your questions way faster than your senior can answer, because they are always available for you. The next question I have is coming to me from many companies. They are trying to implement an automation or increase their efficiency, but they're scared that it will hurt their budget or it will create extra security problems. So how they can prevent it, how they can build something secure and efficient without hurting their budget too much.
Before you start with automation, maybe what we said at the beginning, check if you really need that automation, and if you are at that step or phase in your company that the automation can really help you, because the automation is only the result of a lot of prerequisites you have to do. Your data, your employees need to follow, your structure and everything. So, and to determine if you need it or if it's useful, go to partner, find partners, maybe invest a few days and see if they can help you to determine if you are at that step to start with automation, to start with AI, because all of those is just a result of a lot of preparation. And if there is a good partner, he will be telling you that maybe there are some prerequisites that can help you, and then we can start with the automation. So that is something I would recommend to help the budget. Otherwise, you will just burn money without any result.
And what about the security? That's more like interesting for companies. That's more important for them.
Yeah.
How they can solve this.
Yeah. So one common mistake in the automation. So when you solved all the prerequisites, and when you start the automation is a very powerful tool and has access to a lot of your very important data, your ERP system, your HR system. So it's very sensitive data. An easy solution. So the automation needs to have access to all those systems because he needs to read and basically also to write and change something. But to every system, please separate the access and have a credential separate API key, whatever system you have, for every of those target systems you want trying to automate. Because otherwise, if some of those information are breached, then you have access to all of them if you use just a single one.
Yeah, using different accounts or credentials for subsystems is good practice, but what I see in the real world, it's hard to do because in many companies that I consult until now, I saw they are building internal process automations locally. Using PowerShell scripts, using some web APIs and triggering those endpoints using Slack or Teams. So it's creating another level of complexity, how they can solve these problems.
Basically, automation or IT process or general process automation is not only a IT-related topic, it's a more whole company topic. And if the company is not accepting this and providing their employees some solutions they can use to make their life easier, to use AI, for example, building their solutions on their own. So we call this the shadow IT. So they're building their own IT, their own automation, their own AI without the control or also the guidance from the IT, from the whole company. And we had one example from an Austrian company. It was a huge production company with around 5,000 employees. And they're having SAP, they're having ServiceNow, so they have all the enterprise solutions and everything.
All the buzzwords.
All the buzzwords, but they're not living all those systems. They're just having the system basically implemented, but they're not living all those things to go the next step to be more efficient. And we saw one solution, they are shipping a lot of their factored parts. And I think it's 10 years ago or 15, they had the request to automate those stuff. So they have a system to track all their producted values or goods, but no automatic label printing and something like this. So someone was an IT guy, but not in the IT company, built an Access solution, so Microsoft Access. And the company relied on that for 15 years.
Good old days with Access
Yes.
solutions.
Yes. And one day, this employee left the company. And you can imagine what's happening. So nobody was taking care about Access. Nobody had the knowledge to take care about Access. So they had a really stressful time to bring that solution to their known system, to their existing system, because this guy was leaving and the knowledge was also leaving with them. So that was a good example that you can have all those fancy tools and say you are using AI, but there is a lot of more effort and a lot of more education to your employees, and take them by the hand and help them to use those tools, provide them the tools and educate them to use it the correct way. Because also security perspective, a lot of security breaches happening because some users are just clicking email. Yeah? It's not about the firewall is bad or maybe any spam filters or whatever. It's the end user just clicking on the wrong email. So educate your users and help them to use all those new tools.
So keeping the know-how at a centralized mechanism to build better tools, but the most important part is educating your own users, so they have better control. But still, I was trying to get to a point about Automator itself, because I understand the impact from my customers. They are trying to build things, their IT department trying to automate things, but they don't have the right toolbox to do it. So whenever it's one of your major examples, if a user forgets their password, they go to the IT department and they reset it. So in Automator use case, it is creating a PowerShell script and solving the problem. But In the real world, actually, IT department does that. So what are the risks from their side to use just the PowerShell script and share it with even users if necessary, some scripts that they can share versus using Automator? What's the driving factor in your mind to build such a product?
Basically, IT departments have less time, a lot of workload, a lot of things to do. So if there are at least a step ahead, they build at least some automation with PowerShell and use that. But most of the time, only one user or one IT admin can use it or execute it. If they're maybe a little bit more educated or more people using PowerShell, they can share the PowerShell script, but then it's mostly stored on a share. Everyone can use it. And then you have two bad options. You store the credentials in the script, hard-coded, not a good idea. Or every user or every admin who executed that PowerShell script needs to have the permission to reset the password, to enable, disable user, whatever you're trying to automate. So that's a huge security breach that every one of those users has the permissions. With Automator, we solved that problem that you have your PowerShell script, but this is executed under a secure service account and delegated with a nice front end, nice form. Not only the IT admin can use, but also the manager of that user. So if some of my team lost his password or forget his password or his MFA record, whatever, the manager can help themselves. So they don't need to go to the IT department. The manager can execute in the name of his employee, of his colleague, and then without touching the IT and solving it within a few seconds, the user can log in. So the user is happy because he gets immediate help, and the IT is happy because nobody bothered them for just resetting a password.
So they can continue drinking their coffee in their dark offices?
No, they can continue evolving the IT, but yeah, of course, yeah. They can invest their time on major important things and not helping end users to reset their passwords.
Yeah, that's true. And also there's like, it's solving one other step of approvals. But normally it happens even in our team. Someone can need to reset their password and they go to IT direct, then IT resets it, or without doing extra checks, and they just assume they are working here, or they just assume things. So in Automator also, that's something maybe important. What I saw is you can assign approvers and business workflow that represent real world. Because when you lose your keys to office building, there are rules that you need to follow. You need to speak with the right person. You need to show your ID card. You need to get an approval, or whether if you need a key or not. So that's representing the real world better.
Maybe one thing on top, also for security, everything is documented. So who requested to reset the password, what was the result, and when did that happen? Everything is documented, and a lot of customers need to have regular audits. So who have access to this, who resetted the password, who had access to this mailbox. So everything is documented, who requested it, who approved it, and what was the result of the automation.
And that's especially true because automations have different steps. You can have logs, for example, in your virtual machine when a request came in, but that automation have, let's say, 12 points. So 12 steps you have to put logging if you need to see what's going on with audit logging. That's also a cool point in Automator. So right now the trend, again, AI workflows and many AI solutions. How are you going to integrate it with Automator? What are your plans for near future?
We are constantly thinking about it. What we are trying to achieve is that we do it in a useful way to use AIs. We have a few ideas, and one would help customers to build the automation and to build their service. So in our product, the service is a form where users can enter some data. And for all of this, you need some know-how, you need some understanding and everything. And we are trying to feed our own AI agent with all our information from our consulting experience to help customers with just a few words and prompt to request, I need a form and automation to request access to mailboxes. And the idea is then to bring out the complete form, the automation. You just need to integrate it into your system. without the knowledge of PowerShell and everything, and also with our experience in building forms and workflows and processes, this is our goal, that we want to integrate AI into our product.
Yeah, and I'm sure that many of the viewers we have are not going to use Microsoft. For most of the enterprise clients, it may be true that they are using Microsoft due to its enterprise level compatibility, and it supports legacy servers. And 20 years ago, there were no Macs this popular in IT sector. So, but the world is changing, and now we see a huge rise in using MacBook, macOS, etc., or Linux-based other operating systems. So, how those companies can use Automator at the moment?
At the moment, to be honest, you need, as a basic, you need to have a Microsoft system right now. So you need a PowerShell, or you need an Azure automation account, so everything Microsoft. But from that on, you can, of course, work also with macOS or Linux, but the basic right now needs to be a Microsoft ecosystem in their environment.
In their environment or in the server?
The server. Okay. So, and basically also the user management, so Active Directory or Entra ID right now needs to be from Microsoft, yes.
But we can use from MacBook and log in and use the system as long as we have the Microsoft Active Directory.
So from the automation then, you can touch every system that has an endpoint, an API, whatever. So we are talking to SAP, we are talking to other systems with APIs. It doesn't matter if they are from Microsoft or different. At least you have any endpoint we can touch and communicate, then you can use it for automation.
Do you have any new feature plans to integrate other systems to remove Microsoft dependency, have a broader audience for your product?
Not in the near future, but we still have it on the backlog to maybe integrate other directory systems, so you can not only use it for Microsoft. So it's not in the near future, but it's still not off the list.
Okay. Still, I'm asking because I want to use it internally for many of the systems we are using. And for us, we are using Google Workspace. And it's hard to migrate to Azure, Entra, or any Microsoft solution that may do the job.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot for your time and sharing your expertise.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure, and all the best.
It was really fun for us.
Yeah, thank you very much.